bring back this full screen mode. Okay, so I think it is running. No promises, but I think it is. All right, so we want total donations. Couple of other things we might want is like total grants requested. Yeah, we might do like requested amount versus allocated. I'm just doing this for my own memory to some extent, so that we go through and do these. We might want total grants by service. What else might we want for just reports? We only need 4 or 5 of these.
What about counting the employees?
Yeah, although that's just, count them. We could actually look at which employees do what, I suppose. Maybe. So how long employees at work? I'm just trying to think if the data is rich enough to make that worth doing. We could try that. Total grants per. Yeah.
Oh, so you're able to see it. Oh, no.
So
That's what I'm looking at.
At one point, I was contemplating one. That if you have no issues with like creating news. What is it? You don't remember? What is your better?
Oh, yeah, you couldn't help me. Yeah, she's sick today.
okay, so maybe one thing else.
Oh, no.
Hopefully they have good memories.
It's supposed to be for a charity that hands out cash for short-term need.
Yeah, she had a hard time.
Okay, you need to keep tabs on, okay. I see that you have how much everybody's been allocated, but what about if they want a service lifetime?
They do. I mean, you could do that to see whether they have, like a lifetime grants, which I think this could do, right? Total grants per recipient, maybe compared to their lifetime.
Yeah, like some kind of running thing to warn you when you're close.
Actually, that kind of warning would be a trigger, which you probably wouldn't want to do as a report space. But we'll see about this one. This is probably enough to just give the idea, because we're going to spend more time on the Metro Hall stuff. But are there anything big that you would also want to see out of here?
How about it, like for a period of time, like amount of grants for the last 3 years or something?
You could, except there's only like 1 year worth in there.
Okay. That's not gonna work then.
When we do the Metro Alt one, there's 3 years worth of stuff.
Yeah.
So, but this one, it's literally got like 1 year.
Okay.
That's why I was going to do it for months. And we could do total grants by service per month. I mean, there's lots of different variants of that. The main thing is that you want I really think it's useful to create these in the database before you do the reports. You can, as I said, do it the other way. You can do them as you make the report. But when you're dealing with the report software plus trying to write your SQL, it gets more complex doing that. It's easy if what you're doing is simple, right? But once your query gets complex, the whole thing can get a little messy. That being said, the other thing is you can oftentimes just do the whole table, and then you can apply. They actually have aggregate things and you can apply in the reporting software. So we'll look at maybe a little of both, how you could do it. So if we do, let's do the first one as a view. So total donations. Do you guys remember how to do a view?
Create view.
Yep. Now, the other thing we're going to do later is we're going to, when we talk about security, the other big SQL thing we'll do is we'll create some views and procedures and things that belong to different schema. We could probably even adjust these retroactively by changing their ownership to a different schema. But for right now, they'll just be DBO, I think. Maybe we should have done security first. I don't know. So we create a view. You give it a name. So this one will be, I'm just going to do total with, actually, usually, although this isn't necessary, I usually prefix views with VW. And then total donations. And if you wanted to get really elaborate, you could say by year and by month. Now, I know when they do, like they let people work on the reporting software here, they aren't allowed to, they have no access to create their own queries. So what they do is they have to choose from whole bunches of pre-made views. I don't,
Sounds like a whole lot of fun.
Yeah. So I'm just going to call it total donations, although, as I said, you could, if you wanted to get really accurate, you could do total donations by year and month, and you could have another one, total donations by year. The name should tell you what you're getting. So this one is pretty easy. I'm just going to select. All right, so we want to know donations, right? So I'm just going to do year, donation date. So that'll give us the year. And I'm going to alias it. Actually, one of the things you have to do with any kind of, in a view, you have to alias any field that's calculated. It doesn't allow an unnamed field. And then I'm going to do select month, donation date. And if you remember, the as keyword is totally optional. No, I do not. Thank you. And then the third field will be sum, donation amount as total. Total doesn't need the square brackets, but I'll do it to be consistent. All right. From donation. And that's actually should be good enough. These like to have the goes around them. Do you guys, I've explained, I think, what goes do. Does anybody remember?
Separated?
Yeah, it just separates batches. They want to be made in their own batch. So you can't just, if you were running a big script, you would have to have the goes between them. As far as I know, that's a Microsoft only thing. I don't think that's true. And I think it's compensation for the fact that Microsoft doesn't pay attention to semicolons.
Mhm.
Because in most SQL, scripts for other things, you'd have a semicolon at the end of the view, and that would be a separation. You could put it here, but I really think the thing just ignores it. So, so we could create this view. Oh, yes, I do need some group buys.
Yes.
Thank you. Too early in the day. I was thinking of the group buys when I wrote the year and month, but I forgot as to what order I want to do them in. I think I want to do it by year donation date and by month donation date. Like order by. This will be the primary grouping, and this is a secondary grouping. So the order you put them in determines the group.
I don't think you need the donation date.
What? Oh,
Spelled donation.
I spelled donation wrong.
But still, why is it coming up
Oh, yeah, that's good.
It just says group, group by.
It's a good thing you guys are awake. There it goes. Now, the way you check one of these is just to select. I'm just going to select star from VW _ total donations. And we'll see what it looks like. As I said, the data is not very rich, but it has we have 2 months in 1 year. As I said, the data is really thin. What was I going to say about it? No, there's other things you could do here, but actually I don't think I would do them here. Like if you wanted these to be dollars currency, I think I would format them in the reporting software rather than here. It's just easier there. If you want these to be months, I mean words instead of numbers, I don't know if I would do that here or in the reporting software.
I'll have to cast it, right?
Well, you'd actually have to do like a switch. So if basically it's have to say when month donation date equals 8, then August. Yeah, it's a lot of effort for something that probably doesn't matter. But all right, so that's our first one. Any questions on that? Anybody not get it to work? If it doesn't work, it's probably because of like mine was headed lots of typos. So we have one thing we can use for a report. So the next one is pretty easy too. So I think it could be a view. And I think we might do this one. The third one here is both a view and a stored procedure. The reason to do a stored procedure is if you want to pass parameters. And in the reporting services, if there's a parameter present, it automatically gives you a text box to enter the parameter. So if you want, so you can use that as sort of a de facto filter. Okay, so total grants requested and then the compared to the amount allocated. That actually would be kind of boring, but we could do it. I mean, it's going to end up with one line, right? We could do it by service. That would actually be more interesting.
That's the next one, right?
Yeah, we might combine them. I mean, you could do all of the varieties. I mean, part of it would be figuring out what are all the ways you want to look at the data. So let's do another create view.
Run that.
Which one?
Oh, just,
Oh,
you have to run it.
so this view will be total grants by service. It's just, yeah, so let's do VW.
I don't know. We'll come back to that one.
Is it giving an error?
Yeah.
Let me look real quick. Oh, you know why? Use community assist.
Yeah.
All right, so we want, let's do select. Let's do select service name. Do we want to alias that? Okay, and then we want to do the sum grant amount as requested, sum allocated amount. Let me look at the table. Grant allocation. My names again are not real good. The grant amount in the original version of this, that was just the amount. And then I changed it so that they could allocate that amount or some other amount. And it, so the names don't, I'm going to say as allocated. All right. So from, and I'm going to do from community service, actually, which is another bad thing. It's a table as well as the database name. Actually, it's community assist community service, so a little bit different. From community service, inner join service grant. On s dot or cs dot service key equals sg dot service key it's in there. There it is. And then we have to group by service name. That should work. And then again, it wants a go if you want to get rid of the one of the things you can do when you're creating these views is you can actually just run the query by itself first. So that looks pretty good there. What? You don't have to.
just it makes it easier to read.
Well, so the main reason why you would put, so you can either do it all the time, which is maybe good for consistency. You only need to do it when it's a reserved word or an illegal character. And so like if you do, if you auto-generate some of these, it always puts all the field names in square brackets because it doesn't know if you were good about naming. Where do you have? Some donation date. Actually, this needs to be donation amount. I wouldn't try running it all together. Highlight this. And then you can run it. You can't run them all together, especially if there's no goes in between. So anyway, the square brackets, service is a keyword, but requested and allocated or not. So it's up to you. And again, the as could go away as well. So because the query worked, we could do that. The other thing we could do if we really wanted to is the difference between the two. So if we were to do that before we make it a, what? It's not working?
No, it's not. Oh, yeah, yours too. It doesn't love the points.
It just wants it go.
Okay. So just the run and shoot.
Yeah. So I'm going to add some grant amount minus some grant allocation as, what do we want to name it? As difference. I'm curious if difference. Difference is a function. So again, this is probably one you would want. This is, not necessarily. I'm just adding one more element, which is the the difference between the two. It's interesting in childcare, there's no difference. But most of these others, there's less allocated than granted.
Why is there different?
This, which comes from community service as a table. Everything else comes from the service grant. Because instead of the service name, it just has a service key in the actual service grant table. So it takes an inner join.
So you just run it, the view again?
Well, so I didn't run the view. I just ran the select
Okay,
to test it.
Oh.
Now I'll create the view.
if I already ran the
Yeah.
view before.
If you ran the view, you'll need to alter the view.
Okay.
What? Yeah, it is. So this time I'm going to create it. But each time I just ran the, do you need, what, the alter view?
I think maybe is there oh, there we go. The
There's a
comma,
comma.
yes. Oh, so,
Now what is the,
because I pressed alter. Do I run this?
did it ever run?
It did before, yeah.
So it should work.
Before we did the difference.
Put it on create again. Maybe you could just run the,
Yeah.
How about,
You have no comma because they're allocated.
There's already an alter, so alter it. Change create to alter. There you go. This,
so you do difference and then you run it with all of it or just?
so first I tested it to make sure that this worked. It did. So then I ran the whole view. Now if I run it now, it will fail because it already exists.
Yeah.
So you can always, if you've ran the view, you can always do alter and run changes. There's two ways to make changes. You alter it or you just drop it and do it again. I will post all these, by the way, if you have troubles. But any questions on that one? Let's do the same thing as a stored procedure. The difference being that we will pass in a parameter. It's the only difference. Views don't allow any parameters. So it's actually going to be the same query here, right? But let's start it by typing it, I guess. I'm just going to copy the query, but I'm going to do create procedure or proc, and I'll give it a name. I'm going to do USP, and I'm going to call it total grants by service. It'll be different because of that USP, which stands for user stored procedure. Total grants by service, and I should probably spell things.
This is just a different way of doing it.
This is just a different way. It has a slightly different result, as I'll show you. I'm going to give it the parameter of service name. So we need an at service name in varchar, I think it's 255. Let's look at community service column in varchar 255. And then I'm just going to do as, and I'm going to take that whole query that I did up above. I'm going to do Control C, just copy it, paste it down here. And then the only other difference is I'm going to add a where clause. And I think, what? I think I want to do the where here.
Is it always where before group?
Well, that's what I'm trying to remember. We'll see. Where service name equals at service name. I'm pretty sure that the where clauses always come before the group by, and then the having clauses come after the group by. So it's exactly the same as the one above, except that it has a parameter. And the difference is we'll have to enter what the service is, and then it will limit the report to that service. If you want to make a parameter, this is a real simple stored procedure. It's just a parameterized view. Means that you can pass in a value. They're the simplest of stored procedures. With the view, now if you didn't want to do this, with the view when you're in the reporting services, you could always add a where clause to it, right? In the view, you could say where service name equals, or service equals. To do it as a stored procedure, but you can. So if I were to create this, and then I'll leave it on screen for a minute. These are addressed a little bit differently, and you would in the reporting service, you can choose views or procedures. I'm going to do exec, which is an optional keyword, or you could even say execute if you prefer. USP total services by total grants by service. And then I have to give it the parameter, which let's just do food. It needs to be in single quotes. And it would give me just that service. You can do the same thing for like month if you wanted just a particular month or just a particular year, which might actually make more sense. But you know, if you wanted a summary for is it coming, how are you guys, how is the SQL doing? Is it coming back? I mean, some of you. To me, SQL is kind of fun, but then I think all programming is fun, and I realize that's an aberration. All right. Everybody kind of got that? I'm going back to see. So we also had how long have the employees have worked?
Can we do it in like a certain amount of time?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of how I want to do that. You know, one of the things is we can't order by. You cannot do an order by in a view or stored procedure. So it'd be nice to order by that.
There's really no other way to do it.
No, although we could see just trying to think of what kind of date math we could do. So the minimum, what I'm trying to remember is the minimum date, the most current, or probably be the most recent date is the max. The way they do dates underneath is they're just integers. They start counting at some arbitrary time in the past. So the zero date varies in software. Some people go to 1900 for the zero date. Some people start in 50 something. And they just start counting the days. And then they have some algorithms that turn that count into dates. So you can do minimum and max. You can do some of the math stuff on dates because they are underneath it, they're integers. So max would, I assume, be the most current date. Oh, quick check. Let's do select max hire date from employee. Could be employee hire date.
Employee hire date.
Okay, so when we do that, the maximum one is the 4th, 2009-04. Let's do the min. Yeah, so that's an older date. That's 2001. Not a huge range, but we could do a little bit of math based on that. So I'm going to do create a view. Let's just say employee info. So I'm going to do select last name. Person last name. What? Oh, I do. Thank you. Yeah, I don't know why I keep doing that. And the parentheses are necessary here because I'm putting a space in there. You can also change the names of the labels in the reporting software, so you don't necessarily have to alias them if they have a name. See what I've got. So we've got hire date. I'm not going to do their social security number. I will do their status and their hire date, of course. So let's do employee status as status. Ooh, status is a keyword. See, on video, you get to see me retyping things 100 times. Keep hitting the W. Employee monthly salary. Why is that not showing up? Monthly salary. All right. And I'm just going to do and probably capitalize monthly, which I didn't do. Okay. And then we want to do hire date, employee hire date. Which we'll just do as hire date. And then, do we want to see how long they've been there compared to the oldest one? Years worked since when, though?
Yeah.
I guess we could choose an arbitrary. So years worked, just take the years, current date minus the hire date. So we could call this, so we could take date, time, or get date. Minus, or actually we want date, like date difference, right? Date diff. So we want the interval to be years. We want the starting date. I'm going to try this a couple of times, but we'll do employee hire date. And then I'm going to do get date here. And we'll see how that comes out. And then I'm going to alias that as years worked, or years working, years. What do we want to call it? What? That sounds good. Okay. There's a couple other things we might want in there, but let's just leave it as is, and then say from person P, inner join employee E on P dot person key equals E dot person key. And it would be nice to order by, but as I said, order bys are illegal in views. Does that look like it'll work? I'm going to run just the query part.
What's that? Everything will create you.
Oh, is it just for the row? Does it run? All right, yeah, so if the query looks all right, then you can run the view. Now, a couple of things. So once you've run it, so let's run. I'm going to create the view. Then you can add an order by if you want. So VW employee info, and now you can say order by years with charity. Oh, and probably descending. And then it has them in order of how long they've been there. There are a couple people that are volunteer and get paid nothing. But you're not allowed to do an order by inside the view, but you can do it from the, when you're running the views. This is a penalty for naming things clearly, as you always have to put the square brackets because it's an illegal name. And when you're querying a view, you have to use the aliases. It hides your underlying names, which is a good thing if you're a database administrator, because if you only give people access to views and procedures, they will never know what the underlying table name and column names are. Which means that they can't effectively attack. So as I say, a lot of times the people that make the reports are just given access to the views. And if they need something that doesn't exist, they make a request and they create a new view for it. I think we have like one more of these and then we'll go to Metro. Is this making sense? We got these. These will be more fun when we make the reports probably. Everybody okay with that one? Yeah. Do you have some problems with it? Or do
No. You know you can't do that. Yeah, yeah.
Have you created it? Well, I mean, run it back your own way to say. Oh,
I
then-
know, I just forget to do little things.
Oh, this is just an express, but you know what? One. Easy. Now
So it doesn't look like SQL query.
See, what was the purpose of the select when you hired them?
I was just testing
Like after you get in the
which would
file.
be minimum and which would be maximum. And I was originally going to
Right.
subtract minimum from maximum, and we decided to do differently.
Yep.
So,
Total donation.
right, you could do something like,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, you could, particularly if you're doing an award ceremony or
Oh
something.
my God.
So,
Oh my God. Really? Is it? What is going on?
what are you trying to get out of there?
Yeah, like, I don't even know why.
Okay.
Steve, I have a question for you. This is like a beginning question. Besides going into the file, how do you change it from here with the name of it? So it doesn't look like SQL queries.
So do file?
Yeah, save, is it
Save as.
Okay. And it'll save it on.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. What else did we do? We had one other one, right? And we'll use these, as I said, I'll post these because we'll use these for the reporting samples. The other ones that I'm going to help you with, if you want, are the ones for the Metro Alt. If you want to do them on your own, we could allow that too. It's up to you. I will take a vote, and then if you want, I could just circulate and help individual people, or we could go through them together. So we were going to look at total grants per recipient compared to lifetime maximums. So there's a service lifetime maximum in community service. So we might get the service name and the service lifetime maximum. Then in the grant, we'll see how much they were actually allocated for each service. And then I think we might want to do that as both as a view and as a stored procedure. So like a general view, and then one where you can put in the person's name, or, you know, because you might want to see it only for one person. So it's a little bit complicated, but I think we can do that one. Are we ready? All right. So we'll start with it as a view. And I'm going to create view VW grants and service maximums or something. It's quite possible somebody's over their maximum in here because I didn't put any logic into the database to check it. Though you can. I mean, you could do this with triggers to do the check. So I want to do like select person first name. And again, we could do first name if we want. Person last name. Oh. I wanted a comma and I did a quote. Okay. Okay, and then let's do that as last name. Okay. And then let's do, so from the service grant, we want we will actually probably want the allocation amount. But before we do that, let's do service, no, service name. Okay, type. Okay, you can type there as, and again, you don't need as, but like since this one I was leaving them out to be consistent, I'll leave it out. So service grant maximum. Is it?
Yeah.
Is it just service maximum? Service lifetime maximum.
Yeah.
Well, and then we will want the grant allocation. And I think we want like some grant allocation. It's coming from community service, the table of community service. So I'm going to see if this works, but we'll do from, we'll do person first, person P, inner, join service grant, SG, on P dot person key equals SG dot person key. Inner join community service on CS dot service key. I'm not getting any IntelliSense. Equals SG dot service key. Group by person first name, person last name, service name, service lifetime maximum. That actually should be it. Why is it not? I mean, I could do a go, but I don't think that's why I was not getting. Oh, comma there. I'm going to scrunch this for a moment. And as I said, I will put these on the blog.
It didn't work for you?
What?
Did it work for you?
I don't know. Let's try it. So there's a couple of things we might want to do.
Can you scroll down?
Yeah. So you have to group by everything, right? Here, you have to group by everything except the sum. Trying to get it all in the window. I might add a where clause to it to eliminate the nulls. You could make this even fancier if you want, but that's not. I was just thinking some things you could do.
Would it be a where clause or a having clause?
It'll be a
It's allocation to some.
right. I was just going to get rid of the wheres, but we could do a having clause. Well, I mean, then there's a couple of nulls.
Right, but the nulls are part of each sum.
Oh, the allocation. You're right. Although I think you could get rid of, because if it is null, then that means,
0.
well, that means that there wasn't any value in the original allocation. Which should, so should aware, actually, either should work.
Do they have a null if they requested that it was never granted? Is that why it's?
Yeah, so if you could either do a having on the function, that's the sum, or you could do a where on the underlying value, because they're both null. Right?
Should we create that view?
I'm going to do one other thing to get rid of nulls. So do you want a having or do you want to, I'm not sure which is more efficient. Yeah, we could run 10 of each to see. And so you could either do where grant allocation is not null. That should have exactly the same effect as your or having.
So then if you having some grant allocation is not null.
Yeah. Yeah, it should work either way. I'm going to make sure mine does work as promised. So I should just remove any nulls. So I added where grant allocation is not null. And it has to come before the group by. If you do the having, it comes after everything else. Sally asked for a lot. Well, actually, those are different Sallys. Huh? Didn't know I used Sally that many times. I don't see anyone that's actually gone beyond the lifetime. There are some zeros. And if you wanted to eliminate the zeros, you could do the same thing where grant allocation is not null or I think it would be or grant allocation there's a couple of ways you could do this. One is not grant allocation equals 0. Or you could, I'm pretty sure it has to be an or because you won't have both of these true. This would eliminate the zeros too. I'll show it again in a moment. It didn't eliminate the zeros. But and wouldn't work either. You know, I wonder if it did eliminate it.
So and not.
Oh, so let's do it and try it. Yeah, it eliminated the zeros. You were right. You must have had more coffee than me. All right, so I'm going to take this down again. So you can make the view now if you want. And if you wanted to do this as a parameterized thing, we could just make it a procedure and add a parameter for the last name or something. Or person key. But I think let's leave it. Look at the other things. Sure.
Oh, that's right.
So all we're doing today is figuring out the right views, set the goal, this spot.
Was actually not uncommon. I do that too. Sometimes it looks like you have an error. The error is because you run back commercials. Yes, I did that with the update. Let's look at some of the ones for, again, going back to the assignment. Do you guys want to try these on your own, or do you want me to walk you through them? Walk through some of them.
I think we should do it on our own.
How many vote to do them on your own? 1, 2, 3. How many would want me to walk you through them?
For the which one? Mine.
Well, let's do a little of both. Let's let you try.
Okay.
And then I'll help some. And then if there's some that are particularly pernicious, it's a good word, then I will.
What's the word?
Pernicious.
I have to learn that.
I will help with those.
When they ask me to leave.
So this is abuse and then procedure.
Right. So the procedure is just basically it's just like a view, except you have a parameter, right? So that you could put in what year you want to look at, or what bus barn you want to look at, or what.
Better than
Yeah.
different.
The hard part for this is you're probably not as familiar with the database.
All right.
Some of them are fairly easy, so you might not, they're not necessarily listed in order of easiness. Like the first one is really quite easy, just a count thing. The second one is actually really hard. Well, it's not super hard, but I didn't.
I have a question about that one.
Yeah.
How do we know we're getting the right number? Like, do you have a benchmark for a certain bus?
No.
Because I'm getting different numbers.
Well, there should be different numbers for different buses.
But like, so some buses will give me like 32,000 records, and some 17,000.
Yeah, that's possible. So
So I'm not really sure like what the.
So there's a couple of things that are parameters there when I did the loops to pop it. So that, like if it's in Tukwila or Bellevue or something, or Kent, there's probably fewer.
Right. But basically, that's
Yeah.
how it's turning out.
And then the number of stops originally was done as a random number between like X and Y. So there's a variable in terms of the different routes. The actual something, the table,
Yeah, you have an empty table.
I have an empty table, which I spent hours filling that table,
Oh, gee.
which is the actual, is it bus route stops?
No, it's the one with the times. So it's
Bus route stop schedule.
Yeah.
That table had like 500,000 rows, and I think I truncated it by accident.
Fun.
Because whenever it would fail for some reason, I would truncate it and start over. I think I accidentally truncated it. So there's nothing in this table, but you can do it by the assignment. There's a route number in there in the bus schedule assignment.
And you need it for the bus key anyways. That's the only one that you get the bus key.
Right. This one has the bus key. So it's the bus that's actually assigned to a particular route, the employee that's assigned to that bus and that route.
So is that
The date.
where you get the year from?
Yes, yes. So this is where you would want to do, this is the one you'd want to use for year
Revenue per
or
year.
month, and whatever you want to, because that's the date that you could do those functions on.
Okay.
I will, yeah, I will let you try these, and then as I said, we can refine them. And if they don't work, don't panic. We'll fix it. I'm going to stop the recording, I think. Some of them are really simple, and a couple of them are really hard. So do the simple ones if you have trouble with the hard.
Oh, can you scroll up to the year part? I just want to see how you do.
I just
You just
did.
do year and
I
then
just
you
do year and the date.
the
So
date.
I'm looking for where I've got, say, how month, year. There's also the date part function, if you remember that, but year and month is the simplest.
How many buses are assigned to each bus?
So there's a thing for the bus barn, and if
Is it
you look
bus-
at the, I think,
It's actually not as easy as you think because of where you have your keys.
yeah,
Because you would think you could just go to bus barn and get the bus key, but
Yeah.
you don't have the bus key in bus
no,
barn.
but I have it in bus. In bus, I have the bus barn key.
Right. So I don't know. I did it with subqueries.
You could, there's, I mean, you could do it with subqueries, you could do it with joins too.
Oh, right. Yeah. So you see when it's like when I'm interjoining a table with itself, that's not the first thing that comes to mind.
Well, I mean, you could do, so this is bus and bus barn, so,
So yeah, interjoin would be pretty easy. I
yeah.
just when I think joins, I think different tables, and so just it doesn't click in my mind. And that's, I guess, something I should untrain myself.
Yeah, this one you could do, there's a table on bus types as well. I'm not sure it would need to be a join on itself.
Well, I mean, what?
So this is the
That's the
barn
thing, so-
information. This is what buses go to the
So
barn.
you have 4 barns. So
Right.
if I pull the barn keys from the barn table, how would I count how many buses are in each barn? Because that
You group
information
by-
is held in the first.
You group by the,
Oh, group by. Oh yeah, I don't think about group bys either. Oh yeah, I guess that's solid.
So how do you want it displayed?
And
Do
then-
you want it like
think about group bys.
bus barn 1, 2, 3, and 4?
that, or you could do like the bus barn address and city. I mean, if you're doing an
Well, no,
inner
this is-
join.
this is how I do that.
Right.
Plus 4 times on 4 different conditionals. And it's something.
Okay, so I was going
Because you
to,
just select count bus key for buses, you just group it by